Hi, this is Eternal King, bringing you another discussion video. Again, it's going to be a few videos in a row because my level of excitement for this game has not been this high since, again, like I said, probably a year ago. Like, I don't know, whenever Bandlewood was first introduced, kind of since then. So, talking a little bit about, we talked about pass bluffing. So now I want to talk about the other turn priority flexing, which is burst lethal. So it used to be that, control decks, slower decks would pass bluff, and then faster decks, specifically things like Riven Fizz, would go for burst lethal. So it wasn't just, play threat on end step, open swing on beginning step, and then buffer in inevitable value. And that's how every single deck in the game played. There were, again, the slow roll Fizz from the Riven value, there was, and then burst lethaling out. There were very different styles of decks. I am finding that style is viable again, and that's fantastic. I'll use an example because I don't play Riven Fizz, but I was playing a lot of Shen. And Shen fully leveled does enable burst lethal very effectively. Essentially comboing the leveled Shen with the barrier generator, the Kinku student, and they kind of ping pong off of each other and then just get a ton of damage on the burst on the burst play. So it is very, it can catch opponents off guard. Overwhelm is another kind of old school one. Like, you'll recognize this vanilla card that, still sees play occasionally in Overwhelm decks, which is Battle Fury, right? Tryndamere, vanilla LOR, right? This kind of play would definitely catch me off guard. A Battle Fury onto an Overwhelm unit. That is also, again, a little counter to the Majin style of play. It's more Swim style. Swim would do two things. He would pass bluff and flex his turn priority, and then he would burst lethal, and he would go wee, and he would swing and then burst lethal, right? That was how he played, and he would catch. It was almost like loosey-goosey freestyle, and it would catch opponents off guard. Before we had this sort of monochromatic style of LOR where it's always, on curve threat, on curve threat, on curve threat, buffer in value, and you can do these things again. I think there's enough wiggle room and enough space that you can start exploring this again. So if you want to play Riven Fizz and Battle Fury the Fizz, go for it. There are a ton of burst speed cards in this game, and I'm just going to type in burst. And we haven't seen a ton of burst interaction in the game lately. Like, you see like Frostbites and stuff like that in control decks, but like in terms of aggro decks going for burst lethal, that is not something that you have seen for a while, and I do think it's worth exploring again. So let's see what we got here. Mark of the Isles. This is a vanilla card. I still love Mark of the Isles in a Hecarim deck. And again, I played a lot of Hecarim still to this day. I was playing a lot of Hecarim pre-patch, which was a miserable experience, but I was doing it. Now, once again, feel free to look at your Hecarim decks with the massive, overwhelming board states and the big swings and the all-in style of play. You can explore that again. It doesn't need to be the on-curve champ value plays every single time. So yeah, that's one card I like. Mark of the Isles is pretty good. Prowl was introduced with Nidalee. Prowl is a very good card. I would say Nidalee without Prowl is like the worst thing in the game, but Prowl like almost makes her worthwhile. So Prowl is very good. Ranger's Resolve on Scouts. So we talked about how in Standard, Scouts is increasingly becoming one of the highest win rate decks in Standard again. And if I had to guess, Ranger's Resolve may be in the list. It might not be in the list. It has been in the list previously. So again, it's worth exploring as like a one-off in Scouts. Shaped Stone. Shaped Stone is mostly for Akshan. But yeah, Akshan loves Shaped Stone. Three Sisters. Three Sisters has traditionally been thought of as a little slow. I think Three Sisters is probably viable again. So again, I can go through one by one on burst cards and just talk about how they're overall better than they have been. Because it used to be, again, just like on curve threat, on curve threat, on curve threat from even something like Lux. You think about Jace Lux, and you're like, Jace Lux is a control deck, right? And it's like, what's the best card in Jace Lux? The best card in Jace Lux is a 1-drop, right? Now, I don't think Jace Lux is very good right now, in Eternal specifically. I think there's way better decks, but yeah, you like Forge Chief out, and then you play your 2-mana Cycler, and then you pass 3, and then you play your big 6-mana card, and it's like, it's actually quite tempo efficient. But again, try exploring the non-tempo routes, because again, there's more and more room for slower play in LOR right now. There's more and more room for mind games. There's more and more room for burst lethal. So that's the opposite of pass bluffing. You're essentially lethal bluffing. You're like, okay, here's everything I got. Have fun. And that's not something you see very often anymore, but it's absolutely a viable way to play again. You know, explore your Lee Sin. Lee Sin was kind of the king of lethal bluffing, where it's just like, okay, here's my hand. Swing. What you got? You got the answer, you don't got the answer. I even have a deny to back that up, so, you know, like that was it. Now, of course, you could say, well, why is it lethal bluffing? Because it's lethal bluffing because you can't guarantee that your opponent can't answer your swing. You cannot guarantee that. You're kind of just throwing that out on faith, right? So again, Hecarim functions on a very similar spectrum, where it's like, okay, you're playing the Hecarim and then you're swinging and you're just hoping that your board state gets it done. And you know, I run Mark of the Isles in Hecarim just to give it a little more reach, but traditionally you don't even do that. I think Gwen is probably a sleeper right now. Now that Lurk has been, you know, Lurk is just kind of better than Gwen. Unfortunately, Lurk has been better than Gwen. It's more reactive. It does present similar damage numbers. But, you know, yeah, absolutely. I would be terrified of Gwen right now if someone just whipped that out. Because, again, she gets, you know, value. She's not a great on-curve card. You know, she gets value sort of subsequently through turns. Like, it's like slow, reoccurring value on Gwen. She's got the heal and the big damage numbers, but it takes a while to get there. You know, play your Kindred. I think Kindred is going to be pretty good. So there's all these cards, you know, deep with Maokai, you know, whenever I see a deep player, I'm always scared because deep is like a weird deck to play against. So all these sort of like anti-Mahjong style of you know, Vigor with Darkness and Senna, all these Viego, all these weird decks, all these slower style of decks, all these kind of anti-tempo decks, they're going to see a resurgence. And all of a sudden, all of these players who have kind of subscribed to that one linear style of play, they're going to be very, very confused, and they're going to start making YouTube videos complaining about the game. The reality is, you just need to like think about how you played the game and got to like, remember when the game first came out and getting to Masters was like a big deal, and it was really hard because you had to like really flex all these muscles. You had to flex the pass bluffing. You had to go for instant lethals. You had to, you know, outsmart your opponent. You had to have answers and removal, and you had to have all this stuff to get to Masters. You didn't just, you know, play thing on curve, play thing on curve, play thing on curve, play your big value card, win game. So yeah, try, you know, again, try it. Try Riven again. Riven's kind of the best example of a burst lethal card. I was playing a lot of Shen and having fun with that. It's another kind of burst lethal card. Yeah, this is awesome. Draven is kind of like a burst lethal card. This is fantastic. Like, I can't, you know, I think going in on Rumble seems pretty decent right now. Rumble's pretty scary. So Eternal's just perfect right now. Now, if Standard is feeling a little messed up, you know, I feel bad for those players. But in terms of me just having like a playground of fun right now, this is the best that LOR has been since the standard rotation was introduced. Standard rotation really messed up the game pretty badly, and this is the first time I feel like we're getting back on track. Because pre-standard rotation was great. That last season we had right there, oh, beautiful. And then there was like an Eternal season after that, and that was great. Got to Masters that time too, and then things started getting off the rails with the kind of Samara auctions and Lurk being everywhere and stuff like that. So this feels good. I'm going to be making a lot of videos because I'm just in love. I'm in love with LOR again. All right, take care, guys.